trembling. Oh, oh, humankind is awakening. From their global hypnosis.
Hi there, Willem here from the Netherlands. It was a magnificent weekend seeing all those beautiful protests. Also, of course, in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam, we had one of the biggest protests until so far. And it was magnificent indeed. There was a lot of hugging with police officers. One thing that was very noticeable, that there was no coverage at all in the mainstream media, which is typical. Normally they announce like there's a few hundred when there's in actuality 10,000, and this time it was at least that size, so there was a complete media blackout. Nonetheless, what we see is that a lot of people are joining, new people, so that is going very well. Then we have on top of that another action, because we are passing a law in Parliament to go to a test society or a conditional society, and we see also this activates a lot of people to stand up against this medical fascism.
Thank you, Willem. You jumped it, so I was supposed to say welcome. but welcome everyone to our bi-weekly recording of the World Freedom Alliance. So here we are sharing the news, latest updates from each of our countries. And I'm really happy to hear your news, Willem, from Holland. And I'll just share from Spain. We had a demonstration outside the Ministry of Health on Saturday. And we were delivering a unanimous message asking them to end coerced medical experiments and respect the Nuremberg Code. And we had doctors and we had scientists and activists and mothers and artists and people from all sorts talking. And it was a lovely event. We were around 200 people. And there was also the Dance Encore dance there. So it was a bit of activism, a bit of performance as well. So that was wonderful. Next, I will give the mic to Preda.
Hello, everybody. So over the weekend, there's been a lot going. We tried something together with Wayne and with Ilana, like coordinating the rallies and exchange online greetings, like showing people from one country to the other that we're not alone. Logistics was not at the height of the idea, but maybe we will do better next time. That's one side. In Romania, there was a lot going on. What happens now is that anti-fascist movement have a lot of fascist things to fight against. Not only the medical fascists, there is also a colonial fascist that with which the country struggles. So that brought very many people, and there was a rally of many thousands of people in Bucharest, many talks which address the health issues very much, and also some issues which are specific to these colonial circumstances. And there's a good spirit. The Freedom Alliance was also mentioned in these talks. That's more or less what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Preda. Next, we have Nigel from the UK.
Hi, everybody. World Freedom Alliance UK is going really well, actually. We've got a website designer company, a whole company is working on our website. They offered their services for free because they love what we're doing in the World Freedom Alliance. That should be up and running soon. We're also having a little app made so that people can find freedom companies near them. There's lots of them about, and we just want to link it'll be like a dating app. It would be absolutely brilliant. We have a regular Zoom meeting every 2 weeks in the UK now, where all the World Freedom Alliance members are invited. And I also have meetings regularly with all the other organisations that we're working with across the UK, which meant that on the 15th, we had local protests, which were just amazing. I encouraged everyone to sing and dance. It was a celebration. So in my local town, we had a picnic. A very clever person, the police asked, who's organised this rally? And someone said, Nigel. So the police came and chatted to me, but literally just had a nice talk. I said that we weren't going to go marching. We were just having a beautiful picnic together, and they stood around and enjoyed it as well. I've had to write a letter to all the head teachers in the UK because the Stephen Hawking Institute has written a slideshow. The first slide asks children to put their hand up if you're going to have the vaccine in a class with all their other children. So the UK Medical Freedom Alliance has written a slide-by-slide debunking of that. And I've then written a letter which parents can then send to head teachers. So that's kind of gone out on our channel and on all the other channels and to the other groups as well. Big demonstration on the 29th of May in London. And I think it's going to be the biggest one yet, because everything is ramping up. They're trying to say that there's an Indian variant. They're trying to set English people against Indian people who live here. We ran a colony there for hundreds of years. So there's loads of Indian people living here, and they're trying to set us against each other. And we've had enough. Hashtag enough. So Britain's had enough. Big march on the 29th.
Good.
Brilliant, Nigel. All right, next we have Jasmine from Lebanon.
Hello, everybody. So to update you all, we had a very nice protest. It was more like an event rather than a protest on Saturday. It involved dancing and singing, also Danser Encore, but our own Lebanese version. It went beautifully. Our numbers were not very big. It was a modest gathering, but we are rallying more and more people every time. And we were in an area called Badaro, which is filled with restaurants and pubs. So we got quite a good exposure. We even received a video of us from all across the world. Somebody was there and videotaping us, so it was pretty interesting. And at the end, the police came and stood with us, but they were very respectful, and we got a chance to communicate with them and tell them why we were gathered. And they basically agreed with us, although they couldn't really be very open about their views because they were in uniform, but they totally understood what we were doing and saying. And we are planning another one for the 29th also. We're going to be in another neighborhood in Beirut, also very, very hip and with a lot of restaurants and pubs and stuff. And we are definitely going to be better prepared and having bigger numbers next time. So those are the latest updates. I do want to mention one thing, though, that we're very happy that only 5.5% of the population got partially vaccinated so far, which is really great. It's a very small number, so hopefully it will stay that way.
That's great news. Thank you, Jasmine. Monica?
Hello, everybody. I would like to update you with some important news from Berlin, from Germany. So first, the German Medical Association demands from the government to develop a strategy to vaccinate all school kids, which means from 6 years old on and starting this summer. So this would mean a mandatory medical treatment for healthy kids. And fortunately, there's a counter campaign going on in the internet. It's called, translated, Not My Doctor's Day, which is good. Yeah, so they stand up and try to make people aware. The second news is that the federal cabinet has decided to return the basic rights to those who have recovered from COVID or those who have been vaccinated. So this means actually they indirectly admit that the basic rights were restricted, and it will be an introduction of medical apartheid and a two-class society. So the Federal Council approved it, and it means that shopping without a test will be allowed, no limits for people, no restrictions in private meetings, no quarantine for traveler returners, and no curfew for those who are vaccinated. A total disaster. And the third news is that we had a teacher that got suspended because she refused to test the students. And also there is a campaign going on in Germany, translated, it says, Da mache ich nicht mit. It says something like, I'm not joining that. So a lot more people and especially teachers will join that. And the good news is from Berlin that the upcoming weekend there will be a sensational event, a 4-day demonstration. It will start on Friday and last until Monday. And the schedule is amazing. It's the Pentecost, the so-called Christian religious weekend. And on Friday, there will be autocourses from 4 different directions leading to the Victory Column in Berlin. And on Saturday, there will be marches from different directions. They call it the Star Marches, and also direction to the Victory Column. And there will be 4 stages. And on Sunday, there will be a huge demonstration with 5 stages. They are talking about 120 speakers. And it's going to be between the Brandenburger Tor and the Column of Victory. And on Monday, again, there will be bike gates, not motorcades, but bike gates and human chains and other activities the entire day. So we are really looking forward to this, and hopefully it will make a change.
Wow, that sounds like an amazing effort. Lots of love to everyone there.
A lot of organizations finally join, and this is good. And they go all together. Now they realize we have to stand up together no matter what. And this is happening. So it's going to be huge. It's going to be sensational.
Wow. So there's going to be lots of coverage probably coming up. Lots of live feeds and video footage and images.
Yes,
so looking forward to
so
that.
They have also a website. It's called pfingsteninberlin.de. I can put it in the chat.
Great. Thank you, Monica. Okay, so we have 3 people from Greece, but you can each give a little bit of a different aspect, maybe, of what's going on. Nikos, would you like to say a few words in general? How is it in Greece?
Hi, everyone. Unfortunately, I didn't participate in the events of 15th May. I'm trying to bring forward the initiatives for the petitions for the rights and liberties of the European citizens, and adopt a parliamentarian initiative. And here in Greece, the recent developments are the request in the islands to vaccinate possibly all the inhabitants over 18 years old. We had some medical doctors that took the initiative to inform in their practices in public hospitals also, inviting people not to avoid the vaccinate. We had an information, but it's not. We had the information that one of them was brought to a psychiatric clinic after that, but we still have to investigate what happened. And another gynecologist invites who invited the young women, to avoid vaccination because they will probably won't be able to have kids after that. And the big talk around this began these days in Greece. That's all from me, the latest news I had. Thank you.
Thank you, Nikos. Dina, would you like to share for Athens?
Yes, thank you. Hi to all from Athens. We had a wonderful day in Nea Smyrni in a very big park, where we had the chance to inform all the people that they were looking at us. We were wearing shirts with World Freedom Alliance and eye wide open on us, and it was a very nice speech because we had the chance to inform more people who were in the park. After that, we have to inform more of them, and we became friends with many of them. So we arranged to meet some of them in order to participate in World Freedom Alliance. Thank you.
Thank you, Dina. And then we have Wayne from Aegina.
I'll tell you about what happened with Athens. I mean, I was going to go to Athens along with everyone else, but the day before that happened, there was a regulation announced that in order to go to Athens, you had to be either show that you've been vaccinated. In order to get on the ferry, you had to show that you had either been vaccinated or you had done a test. Now, I checked out whether that was true, and they told me at the ticket offices that was the case. In fact, it's not being enforced at the moment because the priority is tourism, and they're just saying things to people, and they're not doing what they say. At least that's the impression that I've got from anyone who has actually travelled. But anyway, I didn't. There were some of us who, for various reasons, didn't go to Athens. And we had a meeting at the statue of Kapodistrias in Aegina, and we had a talk there. We didn't. There weren't enough of us really to try and do a demonstration. But we had a talk, and it was a very interesting discussion that we had. I think. Generally speaking, it was worthwhile having a separate meeting in Aegina. There was a very slight visibility, and at least we showed each other that we're in the same movement. Now, there are other things. So Nikos has said something about other developments in Greece. There's something else which has not happened in Greece, but it is having repercussions here, or at least it's being discussed here. There are videos coming out showing what's happening with people who have been vaccinated. They are finding that they are magnetic, that their arms are magnetic, or at least this is what they are saying, that there's magnetism on their arms. And well, on one of these videos, there's a comment that when they go to the airport, they'll be able to board the plane because they will light up the pass light on the scanner. The COVID passport is built into the vaccination. That was the comment that was made. Now, I wanted to check this out, so I contacted a friend of mine who has been vaccinated, and he says, I can only say 2 words, BS. I did the vaccine and I checked with a magnet. BS again. That's why I don't believe them anymore. So that's what my friend said. He says it's nonsense. So I wanted to check with a doctor of my, that is on the same wavelength as us. And I went to talk to him, and he agreed that that's in fact what is happening, that this magnet serves that purpose. And I said, well, why didn't my friend sort of believe it, and why didn't he have this magnetic effect? And the doctor said, it's because they're not vaccinating everybody. They're not vaccinating everybody that think they're being vaccinated. They're using a placebo. They're using a placebo because they don't want to have too many cases. They don't want it to look as if there are huge numbers of people getting COVID. Now, that's what he says. Now, I can't judge who is right. But anyway, I think it's worthwhile just mentioning this, because I did mention it. I mentioned it to one of the activists who went to Athens, who was, she's one of the leading people. She was she wanted to really, she was skeptical at first. So I had to tell her what the doctor said, and I haven't got any response yet, but I mean, I've only just spoken to her, so maybe she will say something in the future if she works out what her attitude is. But what can one know? it's anyway.
That's a good point, Wayne. I think this is something we should, communicate to the World Doctors Alliance, and maybe they can start investigating this phenomenon more.
Yes. All right. Well, that's more or less all I have to say about Greece. I mean, Nikos has made other points that I would have made if he hadn't made them.
Thank you, Wayne. Okay, next we'll have Mads from Denmark.
Yeah, thank you, Hannah. Yeah, so the most important update I have is, apart from we had, of course, all the worldwide demonstrations in Denmark as well on the weekend, is that I have, on behalf of Doctors for COVID Ethics, sent out notice of liability to all members of European Parliament, the European Union Parliament. It's a 54-page document. It's unbelievable. You can find it on our homepage, JFK21, or on the newsletters. You can also find it on our Twitter, JFK_party, with an I in the end instead of a Y. And it's basically with the signatures of all the big names, Mike Yeadon, Bhakti Sukharit, Rainer Fulmich is involved, all these people. So it is something that I think is very, very important work, and it's part of all our efforts with everything we are doing with newsletters and with social media and videos and getting in and handing out flyers to ordinary citizens. We're doing it's part of an all-out campaign we are trying to do as activists. It's about attacking the enemy on all fronts. So I think that's very, very important part, and I would be worried if I was them, because it's very easy to prove that they're committing crimes against humanity, and we're seeing in Denmark now a very weird newspaper article 2 days ago in the largest newspaper, saying that the whole roll down would end of July, and COVID passes would stop, and so on. So I don't know. I mean, they kind of normally test what's going on in the putting our stuff out in the newspaper, but I think they're under a lot of pressure, because a lot of Danes expected that first it was 2 weeks to flatten the curve, then another 2 weeks here and there, and it's been going on, and people are beginning to, what's going on? Are these conspiracy theories? What are they onto? Are they onto something? And they look into it, and particularly ordinary citizens, builders. I mean, it's at least 9 out of 10 builders I speak with. They understand it 100% what's going on, and so that means ordinary citizens, they're talking between each other now, and everybody in Denmark expected in the summer that obviously you would stop like last year. They're expecting that nobody gets the flu in the summer, right? So you would expect everything to be over, and now it's not over. They're still walking around with all these masks on and social distancing, and more and more people are being contagious in this area and that area. So people are beginning to wake up, I think. So we should just keep on the pressure, and I know for sure that Doctors for COVID Ethics and Lawyers for COVID Ethics are working hard, as well as World Freedom Alliance. We are also working hard on producing more and more of these notices of liability, and trying to write about the newsletters so everybody can copy paste and make their own notice of liability. Just change some names, just be part of this movement of holding the authorities to account for their crimes. And also you could see some of these demonstrations now all over Europe are now taking place without police interference, which also I think is a good sign. So overall, we just have to keep fighting and see how it goes.
Thank you, Mads. Yes, I've also noticed there has been a shift, definitely. A lot less police interference lately. All right, and next up we will have Robert from Australia.
Hello, everyone. Australia is a pretty large country, as you all know, and consequently we have demonstrations in a number of cities around the country, particularly the capital cities, the state capital cities. From the best estimates I can make from what I've seen watching replays, probably between a few hundred at some of the smaller ones and maybe up to a couple of thousand in the bigger ones. By historical standards, that's very small for Australia. Very easy, even 30 or 40 years ago, to get 100,000 people on the street if the issue was really big. When I say very easy, a lot of work, but it could be done. Certainly in Melbourne and Sydney, we're not getting those sort of numbers at all. Speakers at the rallies spoke about a diverse range of issues, probably depending on the groups they came from. The movement here, like elsewhere, is incredibly diverse, right across the political spectrum being represented, really. So speakers spoke about different issues, obviously including the vaccine, but lockdown issues and what that's meant about human rights and so on. Two of the highlights that came out of the various events were that the corporate media pretty well didn't touch any of it, as has happened elsewhere, others have reported. But there's no doubt that the relationships with police here are certainly vastly improved, and that applies in Melbourne, particularly where we had the worst of the interactions between police and activists last year. So at this most recent demonstration on the 15th, again, very good relationships. And to be candid, quite a bit of background work being done on that, but the police have also internally been having a good look at what went on last year and trying to do it better. The challenges, I think, for activists are that there's not really a shared analysis of what's taking place here. Most people are still looking at the sort of the top layer of the whole thing, the so-called virus, the vaccines and so on. The deeper agenda behind the elite coup and the Great Reset and all that portends is not getting much of a run. A couple of speakers on the weekend did talk about it, but it's very much in the background, not at all part of the public perception. Consequently, with no real shared analysis, if you like, of what's taking place at a deeper level, there's certainly also no shared strategy. And from my point of view, I think these are big challenges that the movement in Australia faces, but from what I'm hearing from the rest of you, probably the rest of the world too. So that's probably about my time, but good, but modest in Australia.
Thank you, Robert. Yeah, let's hope that with World Freedom Alliance, we can facilitate more unified communications and also, coordinate actions and really begin to talk about strategy. This is something we'll be working on, long-term goals as well.
Yeah,
so thank you, Robert. Okay, and then we have Ilana from Israel.
Hi. I think that to most concisely summarize what's been happening the last few months, I'm just going to go ahead and read directly from the Israel People's Committee. So they say that the silencing mechanisms of the health system regarding all the adverse events from this vaccine created a situation where the Israeli public, as well as the international one, is almost completely unaware of the existence, nature, and prevalence of all the various adverse events. I'll go ahead and say among lethal and non-lethal adverse events, there was a high rate of what we're seeing of cardiac heart-related injuries. And again, as we've said before, the lower the age group, particularly under 30 males, have increased heart inflammation. And it's actually the younger they go as well, they saw an increase in very extreme vital sign changes. And there's a high prevalence of menstrual cycle haywire, bleeding when it shouldn't be, early I have heard anecdotal reports. We've even had Haaretz, which is one of our main newspapers, do at least 2 different articles on that. At first, they claimed that the women were hysterical. Anyway, it's amazing. But in any case, that's something that's coming out across, I think globally, we're seeing a lot of women report this. Neurological, skeletal, and skin damage, and events directly or indirectly relating to coagulopathy, which is the myocarditis, stroke, miscarriage, disruption of blood flow to the limbs, and pulmonary embolism. And again, the authors complain that their compilation of the report was severely hampered by obstruction by the part of the government. So what I want to say about these adverse reactions that we do see, so I think what we have had also is our green pass was those who were able to obtain the green pass with serological as far as recovery from the infection was supposed to, the expiration was supposed to end at the end of June. They've now extended that until the end of the year, the end of December, which my hypothesis is that the rate of adverse reaction is so great that the original plan to have 4 doses a year, that's 2 every 6 months renewed green pass, would just make it entirely too obvious to the results. And I want to say something that came up in the group, which I think is really important, and I finally went ahead and looked at it, was that the discrepancies in the overall mortality. Now, what we have today, and you can see in the many different interviews that I've given, today we have, as far as our population, about 58% have taken the first shot. Now, there was 50% who had taken the first shot by the end of February. So we saw in January and February the highest mortality rate that Israel had seen in 10 years. That means we've only had 8% more take the shot in March and April, which means it was literally done in an incredibly mind-blowing fast 2 months. They injected more than 5 million. Those numbers are anyway arguable, but 50% was done by the end of January. That's when we had our high death rate. And since then, there's been only a trickle of people who are just absolutely coerced to keep their job or to travel or whatever reasons they need their freedom back. Those are the people, the other 8% that we have added on, which I think, go ahead, and I have a graph. I'll be happy to, I can figure out how to send it into the group, which I think is explains why we don't see excess mortality in the past month or two like we do in other places. Because again, you remember that in a country of 9 million, there's only so many people to vaccinate after a certain time. So, and again, and of course, and I echo what other people are saying, which was that now they're threatening still, as they have been for a while, that they're going to start injecting the 12 to 15-year-old age group at the end of May. I felt for a brief moment that maybe we were making some headway, and maybe we are. I wait to kind of see whether it will really go through, because you have organizations, you have people across the world speaking out who wouldn't dare have said anything against anything that had the word vaccine in it. It's obviously, it's so extreme, it's so completely not scientifically, medically, morally, legally indicated that I'm holding out hope that we won't end up going there. That's all.
Thank you, Ilana, for that potent presentation. Yes, it's evident that these all of these adverse reactions are coming up. I can say a few words about Finland as well. So the latest is that the kind of the medical archive that is documenting the different adverse reactions from the vaccines have publicly stated that you don't need to give these reports anymore, because we have all the data we need to see what kind of reactions there are. So they're saying to the public, you don't need to send the reports through anymore. And also we found that in 2017 in Finland, they actually removed the obligation from medical, healthcare workers to report adverse reactions. So it's not even legally bound there anymore. So it's just insane, basically, what is happening. It's just a call to everyone who's watching these news. Please share this video so you can see across the board how the same things are happening in every country. These are things that you won't see in your regular news. So essentially, we have the responsibility to share the truth, the real news, what is happening around the world. So let's really take that on and report as much as we can from the demonstrations as well, so we can get the message out. So thank you, everyone, for this week's recording, and we'll see you again in 2 weeks' time. Ciao!
Humankind